If you've been thinking about wanting to start a podcast but not sure where to get started, I have some news for you. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast as well with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hello, gang. Surprise, surprise, Dai's here with me. So we're going to talk about, sitting down, and I want to talk a little bit about, introduce Dai first, because this is kind of off the cuff. So Dai has a TED Talk, which is now launched, entitled Why Vulnerability is a Human Thing. He knows the struggle of the juggle and keeping his health and happiness a priority. He models his work based on the 5Fs: fitness, family, faith, and finances, with an overarching roof of fun built on a solid rock foundation of health. And today, I'm going to take him back to when he was 33 years old, and he considered himself the life of the party. But was it all a facade? A coping mechanism to deal with daily stress, depression, and anxiety. And one night of poor choices was the wake-up call you needed, was it not?
It was definitely, I would say it was that, as the proverb goes, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. It sort of built to that. But there was that one evening, and I sort of take people back to what it was like just over 11 years ago during the TEDx talk, but it was really just such a profound experience from the standpoint that now, reflecting back on it, it feels much more profound. But I'll be honest with you, going through it was anything but profound. It was really hard and really challenging. Lots of trying to get used to feeling uncomfortable, because I was at a point in my life where I just, for over 10 years, my favorite coping mechanism was having some drinks, like dealing with anxiety, dealing with my overwhelm, just dealing with any of the negatives that were going on in my head. It was just really easy to have a few drinks and push that off till tomorrow. And you know how that goes. And then tomorrow happens, and it's the same cycle over and over and over again. But I was highly functioning. And for a lot of people that know me and knew me back then, the moniker was Fun Guy Dai when I drank. Like people wanted to hang out. They wanted to be where I was at, because all of a sudden this guy that's naturally introverted could become very much extroverted when I had a few drinks in me, and it just became where that was the guy I believed everybody thought and expected of me. And that was hard.
It had to be hard on your family, your wife. I mean, did you have kids at the time, or?
Yeah, both my kids were 4 and 6 at the time. So they were both under the age of 10, and, just little humans, and when I think back to it, as a young dad, I was role modeling to them, this is what a dad is. This is what a husband is. This is what a business owner is. This is what a community leader is. This is who I was showing up as every day. Some of it was really good. Some of it not so good. But either way, they're understanding those formative years. Like, this is their, to them, I'm their superhero, right? Like, right. And yet I didn't feel like that. And when I think about my actions and my coping mechanisms, definitely wasn't modeling something that I would want them to be looking for in a potential life partner later in life. And that was ultimately how it boiled down to a question during a conversation with my wife on that fateful day, where we were discussing and navigating what life would look like with us being apart, with her taking the kids, because it was not a healthy environment for my kids to be brought up in. And this was the scariest thing, was when we were really coming to that head, I realized I couldn't defend myself any longer, because I had nothing to defend.
Right.
And that was a really sobering feeling, pardon the pun, but it really was. And my wife asked me a question. Dai, are you being the type of man you'd want your daughters to marry? That question, was just oh my gosh, like I still like, I get this feeling even when I'm thinking about that morning, sitting at our kitchen table. And it was in that moment, everything became very much in focus.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started to realize that everything that was going on in my life, all the good stuff, I helped make that happen based on decisions, choices, actions, but also a lot of the negative stuff that I was trying to avoid or run and subdue or ignore, I also brought into my life. And so it was like this really clear moment of just like, geesh, I got to learn some healthier ways of dealing with this stress, my anxiety, like just the depression that I would often feel, like just I needed a healthier coping mechanism. And so I made a commitment to my family to go 1 year, no drinking. And it was a commitment to them, but I'll be honest, I was making the commitment to myself. And 3 weeks in, I was like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Like, this is hard, like really hard, and also because a lot of my social community at that time, as I hinted, the perception of me was fun guy Dai, a guy that could be out having some drinks and I'll keep buying the rounds because that gave me permission to drink more. And, so that was just this reputation I had, this perception of who I was. And I didn't want that anymore. I didn't like that perception because I didn't feel connected to that person, and I also felt stressed because I was like, well, everyone's expecting me to do these things, to be like that. And now I'm not showing up like that. And I didn't even know how to relate to some of the people I believe were my friends.
Right.
Because I'd show up at the pub to watch UFC. Everybody's a couple rounds in and I'm drinking my soda water or Diet Pepsi at the time, like it was weird because I wasn't connecting and they didn't know how to connect with me.
Right.
And that became really real. And so I had to really work through that. And, we can get into that, but that's sort of that, thank you for letting me go down memory lane there.
No, it's completely fine. I mean, I know the aspect of having a father that was a functioning alcoholic. Mm-hmm. And he's still to this day, if I were to say, somebody actually called him and said he was a functioning alcoholic and he totally disagreed. But I talked to somebody last week and their podcast aired Wednesday, and he is on a road to try to get sober for his kids. And we discussed the fact that my dad had a garage. He was a retired fireman, but he also for a long time was a fireman, and he was 24 on, 48 off.
Right.
That's that great schedule. So he had his own garage, and because he's in New Orleans, New Orleans is known as a party town. His garage had the nickname of Don's Social Club afterwards. So it was like Don's Garage and Social Club. So I remember as my dad went pretty much, he was the squeaky clean dad until my parents split. And then at 27, my dad decided, well, I get to party. And I mean, they married, I think he was 19 when he got married. Mm-hmm. So my dad became this guy who decided to have fun. And it's not that's a bad thing. But I do remember at one point, because he kept bringing me to his house and they would have these big parties. And it gave me, as you're talking about modeling, it's like, I think it gave me the aversion of, I didn't want to drink that much. I didn't want to let loose like that. And I remember one time asking him, Dad, he was at the firehouse and he's like, I'm picking you up this week. And I'm like, okay. I said, Dad, can we just go do something by ourselves? He's like, what's the matter? Don't like he got mad. Wow. And he was like, what's the matter? Don't like my friends? And I was just like, no, I like your friends fine. I just would rather, we still ended up at his house with the party. But, I mean, it was one of those things where he would never own up to being a functioning alcoholic. And he could work on a car, tell you everything. He's a smart man, but he liked to drink. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's that's tough. Like, I can imagine growing up with that. I mean, because I often think like I was projecting that on my own kids, and but they were also, at that age, they weren't fully aware of really what was going on. Like even now, like I remember the finally I got to the point as I was preparing for the TEDx talk. It was about 3 weeks out before the official day. And I had been afraid to share my talk with my kids. Like, and even knowing, because now there's, 16 and 18 now. And I was like, I mean, they understand, they can conceptualize now, you know, like, is this, like, there was just a little bit of an inner dialogue happening where I'm like, do I really want them to know this? Like, am I okay with this? Like, because I've been sharing this now openly for a few years, you know, just about some of the struggles and what I've worked through, and just really how life has changed so much in these last 11 years because of one decision, you know, that got it all started. But, you know, I was worried, will this tarnish what they believe their dad is now? You know, because I don't know if they associate how I was for their first 4 or 6 years of their lives. They don't have any recollection of that. So it was just a weird thing to be sort of debating internally. I was like, oh gosh, can I say this? And then I did the talking for them. We all shed tears. I mean, they connected with it. They just really, it was just a wonderful experience. And it just reminded me just how valuable the skill of being vulnerable can be in one's life, you know?
Well, and I also think that sharing it with them would be important because you never know if they're predisposed.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's kind of a key factor. You know, when I hear stories from other people about my dad, I'm mortified because my husband, his dad was a Navy guy. He lived to be in his 80s, and he was a very upstanding family man. I got stories about my dad dropping trout in the back of a pickup truck and putting bikini underwear that he caught in a St. Patrick's Day parade on because he's so messed up. Yeah, I mean, and here I am sharing it. So my dad is still alive, and I'm sure he'd be mortified to know this. But he also was an upstanding man. He saved a person from a burning building, got the key to the city, was an upstanding mechanic. So there goes back to that functionality factor. Sure. But looking at him, I know that there's that propensity that I could fall off if I wanted to. If I really wanted to embrace alcohol, I could have done it. My sister did it, my half-sister. So it's always a possibility. So that's why I was like, it's important you share that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because I'm very open about this. Like the labels. Right? How we want to categorize things so quickly because I mean, and I get it. Like, gosh, the amount of information that comes at us every day, like every day, right? We have to learn to just sort of cut through a lot of that noise and try to make sense of this world and these lives that we're living. And so we get really good at categorizing, right? And labeling things to make sense and make logic of it all. And so when I was going through that, it felt, because I had no understanding. Like I really had no reference point to compare. And so going through that, I sort of felt like, man, am I an alcoholic? Like, am I addicted to alcohol? And I struggled with that because especially when I was starting down some of the 12-step programs, I remember going to a few meetings and just trying to really embrace it, thinking that this is what I needed. And what I learned as I was progressing through that after the first few months was, it just wasn't really resonating with me. I didn't feel like it was, and I have lots of friends that are in recovery and are literally byproducts of embracing the STEP program. But for myself, I was struggling. This is just, and I'm just referring to me. Like, that's why I'm trying not to, because I like I said, have lots of friends. I have much respect for that organization. But for me, I really struggled with connecting, especially to the idea that I'm powerless. You know, I'm powerless to this addiction, this thing outside of me. And because to be honest with you, I remembered every moment where I would mute my phone or turn it off so I didn't have to answer my wife's text. I remember choosing to have another drink and staying out with my friends. I remember being fully aware and choosing to do it anyways. I never I recall it that way. Like, it wasn't like I think about my values. I had values like my 5Fs. These are important ways. It's just how I categorize things that are important to me to help direct my decisions and the actions that I take. Because if I'm doing things that I truly value, things feel more natural, feel smoother. I feel much more fulfilled by doing those things. And yet here's this thing that I was doing that was on the opposite side. And I'm like, but I was valuing that over actually dealing with the stress, dealing with the realness and rawness of the pain that I was working through and the uncertainty of my own life and unfulfilled feelings I had, so it really came down to this value proposition. I was choosing to value alcohol and the way it would make me feel temporarily over what was alive and real in front of me right then and there. And I continued to make that decision, even though it was making me feel really sad and more depressed and more withdrawn and more disconnected with my own life. And once I started to reconcile that, and actually I sought help, like I found a great psychiatrist. I worked with him for 4 or 5 months. I found a relationship counselor, started working with them to work on my communications and how to open up a bit more, sort of make sense of some of my feelings that I was trying to work through as well. Yeah. Because as soon as I started to do that, it created the space for me to now realign with my values again. But I needed to abstain to create the space for me to do that work. And that's what I realized. And so that 1 year commitment, and I made, it was a 1 year commitment to go no drinking. I knew, I was just like, I'll do it for 1 year and let's see what happens. So much happened in that 1 year. And it was hard, lots of challenges, but so much growth and so much more fulfillment started to happen in my life. And that 1 year has now turned into over 11.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And I'm just sharing this because every year it's like just another decision. It's like, well, I'm just going to keep going because I feel great. I don't need it. I'm realigned with my health, and I don't need it. I choose to not have it. But I don't have any concern that if I was to have a glass of wine with my wife, oh my gosh, I'm going to go off and have a bender. Like, I don't have any of those concerns. And I know for some people, that's a challenge. There's that fear that's always there that, it's like, once you're that, you're always that, right? The way that we like to attach the label. That was what I struggled with, right? Was this idea that I can never get past it. I will always be powerless to alcohol. And I was like, no, I am a stronger person than that. No,
maybe it has something to do with the high functionality of it, because I've watched my dad. My dad, when my stepmom died, he drank a case of beer a day. But then when he met his new girlfriend at the time, he quit cold turkey. Nothing, no alcohol. Wow. And that's the thing about him. He could be party guy totally, and then go whenever without a drink.
Yeah.
So I it's not that it's an addiction per se for the functioning alcoholic. I think it is more of a choice, and I'm not discrediting,
Sure. No. Yeah.
But I think there's a certain amount of power and self-control over it. So
sure it is. I agree with you. Well, and I guess it really comes down to clarity, right? Like I always believe that if you're clear on what you want, the kind of life you want to be living, how you want to show up, how do you want to live your life? Like those are not easy things to define, nor to explore. Like, where do you even begin with that kind of stuff, right? Like that, it's very overwhelming. It's like, we got our kids pizza last night. It was a lot easier to say, hey, what do you want on your pizza, and give that answer. Or like, hey, let's watch a movie on Netflix tonight. It was easy to pick that. A lot easier than saying, hey, what do you want with your life? What do you want to do? Like, oh man, no, it's a big question, and it's very daunting. And it doesn't mean we don't explore it and search for an answer, because we ultimately give it the meaning, right? Like we supply the answer. Whatever answer we have is actually right for us. Because we have to take ownership. It's us. It's our life, right? And so I think it's really interesting, because as you gain clarity, your confidence goes up. And as you become more confident, it's a lot easier to take action, because it just seems so much more obvious. Like, this is what I have to do next. So I'm going to do it because I have clarity and confidence. And so that's, always the biggest thing I'd like to encourage people. If you're dealing with some of these struggles and there's this feeling like, I know I can do this differently. I know like there's potential here for myself and my life, and I want to tap into that. Start seeking clarity, because it's the best place to start. And then from there, it's amazing what can happen, because all of a sudden it's like the blinders come off, right? And like your perspective broadens, and all of a sudden it's like what you believed you weren't capable of is now all of a sudden like, yeah, I can do that, and then it's just trusting the process to just follow the steps, follow the process, just keep growing. And you know what? Keep smiling. Just keep smiling. Like I think that's the biggest one, right? The biggest one. You better be having fun, or else, there's room for improvement.
So what do you think led to you wanting to mask your pain? Where did you come from? A broken home? Did you have bullying in high school or anything of that?
Yeah, there was definitely, in a few grades, there was some bullying. I was morbidly obese as a teenager. And as, being a
Yeah.
child of that ill health for 5 years, from the age 9 to 14, and 14 being at my largest, and most unhealthiest, it was hard, like just things are hard, they're more challenging. But kids were mean, but teenagers can be pretty darn cruel,
Yeah.
and yeah. So, I even just remember how I was living my life. So there was, I felt depressed a lot of the time, felt withdrawn. I would definitely isolate. I learned to cope, not with alcohol, but with food,
Mm-hmm.
video games, and movies. Like that was it. Like that was my life. I'd watch a lot of movies, play a lot of video games, and eat a lot of food that didn't have a lot of nutrition value, but
Yeah.
plenty of calories, right? And that was just how I functioned. But my parents, they had separated and divorced, and my mom was our main caregiver, but we saw our dad every couple of weeks, and he was a great dad. My mom was a great mom. Like they loved us. And so there was nothing really wrong there. Like we didn't have a hard life. To be honest, I feel I had a very privileged life, and yet still had all these struggles, especially these internal little wars that were going on. And, got to a point one day where I realized that I didn't want to be that way anymore. I remember getting out of the shower one morning and just looking at myself in the mirror and just breaking down and just being like, I can't connect with this person looking back at me. I just don't understand how I got here, and I started thinking, if I don't do anything right now, where will I be 5 years from now? And I was wrestling with that inside. And I was like, well, I know if I keep doing what I'm doing, I don't think it will be better in 5 years. What if I do something different? And I didn't really know what that was, because I didn't know how to get healthy. I didn't even know what would healthy mean for me, because I couldn't even remember what it felt like to be healthy. Right. I don't remember what it's like to walk up a flight of stairs and not have my knees hurt. I don't remember that. So at that period of time, I just didn't have any of these reference points. So it's really hard to have a lot of belief in oneself when you don't have anything to compare it to that you remember, right? It's because now it's to me, it's a very new thing. To get healthy is a new thing. But here was the thing. I was more afraid of staying as I was than I was of changing.
That's awesome.
That's what it boiled down to. And I think about it every time in my life where I've had these, like this fork in the road where I've had to make a decision. And I know that whatever decision I make is going to really influence a lot of the next days, years, my life. And I think we all have these moments where we know we could go left or we can go right. What are we going to do? Oh my goodness. And I think about even the decision to go 1 year without drinking, that one choice. It was very clear. I was like, I keep doing what I'm doing. I'm really afraid of where that's going to lead me. So maybe I need to try doing something completely different, the opposite of that for a little bit, and see what happens. But it's scary, right? It's the unknown. We don't know. And a lot of us are, I gotta think about myself. There was periods of time where, like you described your dad, I can go 3 months, no drinks, no problem. I could do that. I could have that space and just do that. But I was doing it really to prove that I could do it. I wasn't doing it because I wanted to do it.
Right.
It was all ego that was driving that decision. So I could say to my friends, see, I don't need alcohol, like whatever, alcohol's no big deal. But I didn't ever learn how to actually deal with the issues at hand. Like the things that were creating the stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm, the making me feel depressed. It was like taking an aspirin to me. It's like, I'm not feeling this way. I'll have a beer or two, have some wine, it's just how I did it. So as that child, making those changes, it took 20 months to release the weight, to get into a sort of a healthier lifestyle rhythm. And that just carried on, from that age of 17 onward. I've been in the health and wellness space, working, professionally and earning an income and just learning and growing. And most of that was in the fitness space, but the fitness space, and I'll be very honest, and a lot of people don't like it, that people that work in the fitness space, when I talk openly about this, but I have a very much a love-hate relationship with the fitness industry. I think it's very immature and it's very surface for the general side of things, because it's all very much based on what you see. It's not based on what's going on the inside. It's not really, it doesn't go any deeper than the skin. Right. And I struggled with that, because I found me as a teenager, young, impressionable, wanting to make these changes. And, to be honest, people say, what was your main motivation. I was like, well, I wanted a girlfriend. Like I did. I wanted, and I wanted somebody to want me.
Yeah.
And so lots to unpack here. I know I'm sort of like
no, it's
ping
fine.
pong and back and forth here,
it's
like
fine.
playing table tennis. But it was certainly a challenging period. But I learned a lot. But all of a sudden now I started to associate with people as I was late 16 into my 17th year. I started to hang around with certain people, and those certain people, drinking was a regular thing. Drinking, smoking. I never got into smoking because I had asthma. But drinking I would do because everybody else was doing it, and I wanted to be accepted. So I did that. So I learned to deal with some of my shyness, my introvertedness with alcohol. And that's what carried me into my 20s, and then again into my 30s. It was just, again, that's just how I learned to function. I just believe that's what you do. And the people I hung out with, they were role modeling the same thing. So it was just like, well, this is just the way it's done.
But that's the thing we're taught based in, I grew up in the 80s. So, the thing we were taught was all these great movies that showed the awesome college party. And even in the 90s, the awesome college party of everybody getting lit and, the house is trashed. And you were supposed to be the party person. You had to do that because you were usually, because most of it was high school, you were getting liquor legally. You were so that was another bad thing. And then you were just getting drunker than God knows what. And but you're taught that peer pressure that you need to do this. You need to be this person. And it goes back to labels. Labels has been a hot topic on my podcast for a bit with several people, because we are supposed to be what, who are you? Well, I'm this. I have this label, and this is who I am, and this is what role I play. Why? Why do we have to have this certain role to play? Why can't we play many roles?
Yes, thank you. I love that. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and it was going that direction. I was being asked, like, well, what's your niche? Who's your ideal client? I'm like, huh? Like, why? Why do I need to have that? Like I'm just me, and I talk about the things that are interesting to me, things that I'm learning along the way. Like it's just who I am. And the message I write is for whoever wants to listen to them. It's just, I'm making observations, and I'm inviting people to introspect and say, hey, have you experienced something similar like this? What do you think about this? Like, that's what it is. Whoever responds, it's just, I'm not doing it for that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not my motivation nor my intentionality around that, is to attract a certain type of person. I'm like, we're all humans. We're all striving to do more, to be better, to grow, to learn, to evolve, to be more connected. So let's just start talking like that a little bit more,
as a writer, I'm told you need to know your audience. Well, that's true. But I also write for me. I'm writing the books I want to read. So guess what? I'm my audience, and hopefully I'll find my other audience. Back to the label thing real quick. It's like, besides the, which niche do I put my books in? Well, I actually write realistic fiction. That's not really a niche. There's no way that you look in bookstores to find that area. Doesn't exist.
Right.
But there's been a label that I earned last year, and not because of anything I really did. My husband passed away.
So sorry.
And thank you. But I've talked about this before, because it's like, when I divorced, I checked on my form single. Nobody needed to know I was divorced. It was nobody's business. However, as a widow, it goes on your car insurance. It goes when you file taxes now. I mean, it's like, because he passed last year, I had to file jointly. And it's like preparing for as widow.
Wow.
So now it's like, I might as well have a nice W on me that says, hey, I'm a widow. It's like, because I love somebody and we were married, I get this. But because I was divorced, I went to my doctor's office, and she's like, well, the nurse goes, so marital status? I'm like, widow, but I don't like that word. She goes, okay, we'll put single. I'm like, all right. But it's like, it's all statistics. We have to have the statisticians. Why? Right. Does it matter that I'm a widow? Does it really matter? I mean, and if somebody else loses their husband or their wife, does it really matter that everybody knows this? Does it?
True. No, you're right. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess we could sort of approach that in almost every conversation, right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, and I guess it comes down, and that's sort of the, I guess, if we sort of branch off to this idea of vulnerability as well, right? Like this idea of like just opening up, being a little bit more transparent, more authentic, more real, if we will, and are allowing people more insight into who we are and what makes us tick, some of our beliefs. It's a skill to do that,
Hmm.
but how often do we really practice that? I mean, I never practiced it. I always had a belief that if you're vulnerable, you're weak.
Hmm.
You don't do that. Like, you can't show those emotions. You can't tell people that kind of stuff. No, like, they'll use it against you, like, especially when it came to my relationships with other men. Like, I always looked at them as competition.
Yeah.
I was like, if I share something honest with you and something that's alive and real and tough for me, you might use that against me.
But that can be the same. Sorry to talk over, but
yeah, no,
that
please.
can be this. That is the same thing with women. I mean, women, as much as we have our kumbaya moments, women consider other women competition. We're always, well, did you see what she's wearing? I mean, you don't want to, but we have been taught and raised, and I mean, social media does that tenfold. We're always comparing, but it goes back to, why are we comparing? Oh, because we're supposed to label this person, we're supposed to label that person. There was one time when I was I wasn't back, well, I was outside the venue, so I can't say backstage. And I was standing there with some friends, and I was much younger, and I had a halter dress on with a push-up bra. And somebody called me over to the tour bus. And I was with my friends, and there were some other people over here. And the guy sticks his head out and he goes, "Hey, do you want to come up on the bus?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Why not?" I said, "Because I don't." He goes, "What, are you shy?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "You don't look shy." I'm like, "I don't want to get on the bus." And in the meantime, my friends here, the other people on the other side, so I have this friend that's with me that's like, "We're going." I'm like, "No, we're not." But I have my friends in the back are like listening to the other people, and they're like, "Oh, get the band some condoms. They're gonna catch a disease." I had no intention of getting on the bus, but because the way I was dressed, I got labeled, dare I say, a whore. So, and I never went on the bus, and I didn't, But that's the point. It's like, we look at people, we just assume by what we see. Going back to your talk about the fitness industry, we look at a person at the gym who's overweight and going, "Oh," and then we see the beautiful people at the gym, and it's like, "Oh, look at that body." I mean, it almost defeats the purpose of the person that's trying to get healthy to go into the gym, because you're not as motivated, because people are going to look at me weird.
I didn't even go to the gym at 14 years old. When I made that decision, I remember coming into that bathroom, as I had hinted at, and saying to my dad, like, "I want to be healthy. I want to change. Like, I don't want to be like this anymore." And I asked, I said, "Can we get me a mountain bike?" Because I remembered as a kid, I used to love cycling. I loved riding a bike. And he must have seen something in my eyes that morning, because, he took me out that afternoon. We went and bought me a bike. And I just started cycling because I wanted to do something I could do on my own time. But also, I lived in a small rural town outside of Toronto, and lots of country. Once you got outside of town, lots of country roads. I wanted to do it on my own. I didn't want anybody there looking at me. I didn't want to have any of those thoughts in my mind. I just wanted to go and just move my body on my own, And it wasn't, I didn't go to a gym until probably, I'd say 6 to 7 months after I had started. Like, I just did my own thing up until then.
How did you feel when you went in? I mean, having
scary as heck, like, it was intimidating. There's all these, like, just all these mirrors, all this steel. There's like the aerobics class going on where it looks like again, like yourself, I was an 80s child. And, I started going to the gym here late 80s, early 90s. And it was like Lycra everywhere, like, it was just like, and it didn't matter where you went, you were forced to be looking at either your ass in the mirror or your face in the mirror. Like, it was just like one or the other. And even when you're looking at your face, there's someone else looking at your butt. And I was like, I don't like this. But I remember the guy, Randy, and he was wearing he was like the general manager and a partner. And he was a smaller frame guy, but super fit. And he just had these spiky blonde hair, big mustache, but he was wearing like the remember like the old parachute outfit, like the parachute pants, like the MC Hammer pants, with like the little spaghetti strap tank top, and big black fanny pack, with the high tops, and but he was so fun and so engaging and so kind, and he welcomed me in. I signed up for my membership. My dad paid for it, and then he gave me the tour, and he just made it a little bit more inviting. And I remember he even introduced me to a few people as he was giving me the tour, it was just nice. It was just really a nice first experience. But I was scared. I was intimidated. I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, what am I doing here? I felt like a fish out of water. Okay, like for sure. And but because of him and just the way that he introduced me to the space, like I just felt comfortable to come back, and I just kept coming back. And fortunately for me, there's a couple other kids that I knew in my school. I would catch them there every once in a while, and once you know that you got a friend there, it's like you start syncing up. It's like, oh, what time are you going to train today? Oh, I'm going to go to the gym at whatever 3 o'clock after school. Great, I'll go with you. And so that's sort of how it began. But I mean, it was intimidating as hell. Like it was scary, intimidating. I was, for sure. Oh man. But it was, I feel for people, especially today, because I didn't have people with phones on that had high resolution cameras, in their hip pocket. Like I often think, like, if I had to deal with that now, like especially at the age of my own daughters, they're 16 and 18, and they're on social media. I mean, we've had lots of very in-depth conversations about that, and we have access to all their accounts if we ever want to look at them. And I mean, we have very serious conversations on social media, internet, just media, period, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important for all parents to explore that conversation with your kids, especially you start giving them devices and giving them the opportunity to use it. But I think about if I had to be a teen dealing with all that influence and that extra, oh gosh, pressure that they face today, like I think the story would be very different, very, very different. I don't know if I would have gone to a gym, to be honest.
I don't think that, we weren't taught coping skills. I think that should be integral in education, is de-stressing and coping skills and learning how to manage. And I think we would be much better and much more relaxed. But when you add social media into what we have now, I mean, even trying to get your own stuff out there, whether it be as an author, writer, a public speaker, it's such a push. And it's like, you're dealing with an AI who's playing with algorithms. So I think, I mean, I look at it this way: if I can push it and get stuff out there, great. But I'm not going to sit here and let my mood play with it. I have a friend who's her daughter's friend hit like 400,000 hits on TikTok because she had an outfit on, and the next day she hit like, I think, 2,000, and she was crushed. But you're playing with an algorithm. This isn't real. And you have to talk to kids and people about that, because they don't understand. Just because you became internet famous doesn't mean it's going to last. Just like regular celebrity is the same way. You can have a hit record today and then suck tomorrow.
I think Andy Warhol had a
famous for 15 minutes.
That, right?
Yep,
that's
famous
right.
for 15 minutes. And it's true, though.
I mean, now it's like 15 seseconds, so it's.
I often wondered what he would think about that, because what he said exactly came true.
Yeah. Oh, it did. Yeah.
And I don't know that we really look at the big picture of what social media does to us and how it changes us.
Well, I think there's going to be, I mean, when you think about the month that it is right now, it's Mental Health Month, right? And just the term mental health, like, I mean, where was that conversation even 10 years ago, right? Like it wasn't as mainstream. And so like, I do recognize that there are some good things that social media and the media platforms have brought to us, just access to information, right?
Yes.
But you're right, because I think there's a lot more noise than there is good content. Let's just put it that way, right? So it's being able to find those trusted resources and sift through a lot of the crap, like, because there's a lot of crap, and I know myself, like I don't even like going on to social media. Like I don't consume. I stopped that many years ago because the way it made me feel was awful. like I felt really bad. I felt like I'd see people, I'm like, oh man, it just fear of missing out, thinking that,
Mm-hmm.
like, man, maybe I should be doing it that way. Cause I mean, clearly this person has it all together. They must have it all figured out, and just make me feel less than I was. And it was wild just to see how my psychology was affected and influenced by what I was scrolling.
Right.
And so I made it that I spend 90% of my time, if I'm online, is creating content. 10% is then spent responding to people that engage with my content. So when it comes to actually consuming things, it's hilarious. People ask me all the time, they're like, oh, do you follow so-and-so? I'm like, no, I don't even know who that is. Like, and I
Yeah.
feel almost embarrassed to say it, but I'm like, I've made a decision that I'm not going to spend a lot of time going down the rabbit hole of consuming a ton of social, because I know how it made me feel. I just don't want to feel like that, but I want to make an impact. I know I
Right.
have a story to tell. I know I can help people. So that's where I'm like, if I'm going to spend time, I'm just going to be making content and creating conversations to help educate, inspire, and motivate people, and hopefully do it in a fun way, And that was my decision. And I invite anybody else, if you want to do that, go for it. Like, it's a lot of fun, and it's very fulfilling. But
Right.
if everyone was just creating content and never consuming, I don't know if it would work. So
There might be a problem, might be a slight
yeah.
problem.
Well, especially us as authors, right? As
Yeah.
writers too, right? It's like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, if everyone's writing books, no one's reading any books. Oh boy.
Then there's a
Doesn't go very
problem.
far. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's an app that I have talked about one other time, and that's called Quilt. And
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
it's actually a mental health app.
Oh,
And
no way. Oh,
it's done where with live voices, you can
yeah.
join a quilt, and basically what they do is you can host a quilt. So if you wanted to host one, and you can pick a topic, if you want to talk about vulnerability, you could do that. And you can invite people up to speak, or they can
Ah,
just listen. But it's
okay.
all with just an image. Your
That's like
picture's there, and
Clubhouse
that's
though,
it.
isn't it? Is that kind of similarly
I guess it's similar to
similar?
Clubhouse, but
Yeah.
this was, I think, right before Clubhouse. But this deals
Okay.
strictly with mental health.
Oh, okay. I get it. So yeah, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah,
Ah,
it's a very amusing app,
I could
and
take a look at that.
yeah.
Thank you.
So I think if we can turn social media into something that's beneficial
Yeah.
than just self promotion and stuff, when you're looking at somebody and you're going, "Wow, look at that! I wish I could do that," and you
Well,
shouldn't be.
I was going to say, so, as part of this, like last 11 years, worked through a lot of challenges and a lot of growth. And, what's really neat is once you start becoming a champion of change versus a victim of change, right? And there
Mhm.
is a subtle difference there,
Right.
where I really became much more engaged with the changes I wanted to create in my own life. Like I wasn't like waiting for things to happen anymore. Like I was like, I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to go and start making stuff happen. Like I want to make these changes happen. Well, the only way it's going to happen is if I just keep walking in that direction towards those goals, or at least those shifts that I want to start to realize. And what's really funny is like, once you start becoming someone that gets excited for change, you start realizing that, change happens all the time. Whether we like it or we don't like it, it's happening. I mean, Buddha 2,600 years ago said, the only thing that we know for certain is that nothing stays the same.
Yeah.
Like everything's in a state of change. And
Yeah.
the more we fight change, the more it pushes back. And it's like, you can't beat me, And so that's where I was like, as soon as I started to ease up on that, it's amazing how much smoother things started to become. And I shouldn't even say smooth, but the friction. And so what ended up happening was I got to a point where I just realized my career path that I was on, I wasn't fulfilling anymore. And I didn't want to do it anymore. Like I really felt disconnected. I didn't feel like that was what I was meant to be doing any longer. And meanwhile, it was a career I was in for 17 years. Wow. 17 years.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, well, this is provided for my family. I mean, we're very comfortable. Like, what else would I do? Like, what, I mean, you start going through all the ideas in your head. It's just,
the whole, who am I? Who am I now? Yeah. I mean,
very much so.
That people don't realize when your job becomes so much a part of you that when you walk away, it's like, okay, so who am I now?
Exactly. Like the
back to the labels.
Right. Back to the labels. That's right.
Yeah.
And so I left my career, eventually I got to a point where I'm like, yeah, enough's enough. I'm going to just take that leap of faith. And my wife, she was encouraging me every step of the way and supporting me and being like, yeah, let's do this. And, she was really the one that helped me get to the point where I believed in it, believed in us, believed in me, believed in the vision enough to say, okay, let's do this. And I left my career. A month later, she left hers. A few months after that, pulled the kids out of school, packed up our SUV. What didn't fit, we gave away, and we just started traveling. Wow. Now, we didn't have a lot of savings, a little bit, but not a lot. I left a career, didn't have any sort of guarantees, no clear path, no plan B, but we knew that there was things that we wanted to do, and we knew that the path that we were on before wasn't going to get us there. So we knew we had to make a change. Mm-hmm. And so this is where, it gets interesting. So we made this leap, and we just trusted that, things are going to work out, and it did. Now, there was lots of challenges too, but it got to a point a couple of years into our travels where we finally got to a point where we wanted to go overseas. And so we went to Bali, Indonesia. And it was going to be just a 3-month stint. Us as a family go live in Indonesia for 3 months. And we lived in Bali, and we fell in love with it. Like absolutely in love with it. And it ended up turning into 2.5 years, Wow, okay. And we're back in Vancouver now. We've been back pre-COVID. We actually came back because our kids, we always wanted to honor that if they wanted to finish school here, we would always come back so they could do that. So we're actually back in Vancouver so they could finish high school. My young eldest graduates this year, youngest that goes into grade 11. So we got a couple more years and this will be home base again. And I was bringing this up because while living in Bali, and you sort of triggered this idea in my mind, was what you were talking about, just the desire for people to have a certain perception, that sort of Insta famous, the Insta filter of my life, living in Bali, there's a lot of that. There is a lot of smoke and mirrors. And what I found super fascinating was as I started to get to know some certain people that if you looked them up on Instagram, you'd be like, whoa. But I'll tell you, they're just people like us.
Yeah.
And they got a lot of crap to deal with. Okay. I'm like, I do not want your life. But how many people look at what's out there on social and say, I want their life? And I'm like, you don't want their life. Trust me, if you knew what I knew, you don't want it. Like it's so curated, right? Like it's just,
There was after a concert, my friends and I wanted to go. Yes, me, the concert girl. We were in New Orleans, and the band was hanging out at a bar, and there was a bunch of girls that were just screaming girls. And I was just like, I'm over this. I went across the street, and I'm looking in this window, and there's this chain link fence on front of the window. Because, it's New Orleans, and back then, that's what was security. So it's just chain link. And the bodyguard screams at the girls. They're people, not animals. And here I am looking into this chain link window, and it's like, wow, is that not a profound statement?
No kidding.
Because they are people. And here I am looking in basically a cage. So it gave me a perspective that celebrity, and I've hung out with people, they're just people. They have really cool jobs, but they have just as many issues as the rest of us. And so that's kind of what I write about. I mean, I write about the Hollywood and rock star world, and they have troubles just like you and me. And that's the thing. We look at the person on Instagram and go, wow, look at that traveler. Yes. Okay, but what does their bank account look like now? And are they super stressed because now they had that fantabulous trip, but now they have to work their tail off to get to a better place. So now they're super stressed.
Yeah. Oh, so much of that. Like but it's wild but I feel because I see the influence that a lot of people have, and it's amazing. They've built that influence. They've built that ability to gain trust with an audience, and they're now in a position where they can influence it any way they want. I mean, they could do it in a really powerful, empowering way and an educational way, and really create great change for people. But I also see, I keep thinking about the Spider-Man quote, right? It's with great power comes great responsibility, right? Like it's so cliche, but I often think about that. It's like, man, you've got this wonderful following, you got all these people, you got this great engagement. I mean, you could really change. Like I think of Kim Kardashian. Mm-hmm. Like, what if she just really became an advocate and really started to facilitate? She has such a voice.
Mm-hmm.
such an influence, and over a very young and an impressionable generation. Like,
Yeah.
what if they just pivoted completely and just really started to lean into that space of really empowering others and educating them in a way to navigate this planet that's changing so darn quick.
Right.
A lot of us are like, oh my gosh, I'm throwing my hands up in the air. I'm like, I give up. Whatever, just let the flow take me, because I don't want to fight this anymore. And so that's what I'm always thinking about. I'm like, what if, like, so what can you do? And then, Gandhi comes to mind. It's like, well, be the change you want to see in the world. Right. And
Yeah.
so these are sort of like some of the guiding principles that I've come back to this rediscovering just on my journey. And it's like, well, as long as you keep that in focus, it at least can help guide some of the decisions, some of the actions, some of the way I want to live, and it's accessible to everybody. This is not a dollar and cents thing.
No.
It's, and that's the beautiful thing about self-education. Like, gosh, like I look at most of the mentors in my life. I've never met any of them, but they've been mentors to me. And I imagine, you being a writer and an author, you probably have also a deep passion for reading, and I mean, I think about all the amazing books that I've read, some of the amazing talks that I've had an opportunity to see. And I'm like, those are my mentors. Those are the things that inspire me to want to be more, to do more, to live more. And, man, anyway, sorry, I
no,
want to get down off my soapbox right now, and
no, you made me something. You made me realize something about, in that discussion there. It's like, you can choose to be a victim of your circumstances, a victim of change, or you can choose to embrace. And there's a card, because I do read tarot. There's a card called the Hangman, and the Hangman, everybody's like, oh, that's a bad card. All the Hangman basically is telling you, make a choice, because if you don't make that choice, it will be made for you. So you better make that choice. And instead of sitting here swinging in the breeze, make the choice. And the fact is, we deal with change no matter what, like you said. And so if you embrace it and you go with the flow, my husband loved that statement. It lets you ride the tide and you find peace. But if you're bucking it, or you're going to turn around and say, well, everything was taken from me because of, well, you can use the victim mentality. That's fine. And you will find an audience for that to a certain point.
Right.
At a certain point, the victim mentality, people see through it. My dad is a great example. When he got with the girlfriend, her and I were talking not too long ago, and she's like, well, your mom took you. And I'm like, excuse me? Your mom took you when you were young. And I'm like, what? She's like, well, your dad said that your mom moved to Shreveport when you were young. I'm like, I was 16 years old. She's like, you weren't 5? I'm like, no, I wasn't. But the victim mentality, it reads much better to a woman that, oh, poor me, I lost my daughter at 5 instead of 16. It's much different dialogue.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, the perception is the reality, right? Like that, and that self-perception, especially. And I get that. I mean, sometimes it's easier to play the victim card than to own the alternative, right? And well,
by owning the alternative, you have to face what you may have done.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the hardest things we have to do. Is
owning
our mistakes and owning up to them and living with them.
Yes.
So, I don't think we've had any questions. I think people have popped on and popped off.
Oh, that's all good.
But I think the conversation, I mean, let's talk a little bit about your book. You have a book.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's called The Whole Life Fitness Manifesto, and it's a mouthful, I know, but it's, being someone that's been in the fitness space now in my 26th year, I can't believe that, my entire adult life, and then some. I've been, a long time. And I like I said, I have a love-hate relationship. I see so many great things about our industry, but I also see there's some things that we have a lot of maturing to do, and I want to help with that maturing, that evolution. And I always look at fitness as just being one of the conduits to helping us improve health, whether it be mental health, physical health, spiritual health. I really feel that fitness can play a piece in all of that, and so in the book, it's really just provides people with a framework a system, if you will, a blueprint of how to manage whole health with a minimum investment of 30 minutes a day. And so I call it the 2% solution, right? So 30 minutes of every 24 hours. It's only 2% of your day. It's not a lot. And it's what I invite people to commit to themselves every day, like me time. This is non-negotiable time. And the way I structure it, it's 15 minutes of movement with purpose, 5 minutes of mindful meditation, and 10 minutes of focused personal development. 30 minutes. Really simple, but it hits the body, the mind, the spirit, and everything else included, and it's super simple, really simple in design. But I want to remind people it's not easy, because it's still going to involve some change. It's going to involve a commitment to oneself that maybe you're not consistently making right now. So that's change. It's learning a new habit and eventually a new lifestyle. But the cool thing is over the years, I've had lots of experimentation with a lot of my clients, and so I've been able to sort of refine, test, and really try to figure out more of the psychology and what motivates versus what inspires, what gets us excited to do some of these basic things for ourselves. And so I sort of just packaged it all into a program that is really simplistic in design, but very effective in the results that it provides for people. But I call it a gateway program, or a gateway to a lifestyle, if anything, because it's a lot of people say, well, I only have to do 30 minutes. That's it. Like, well, it's the least that you deserve. Like, like you're worth this. You're worth at least 30 minutes of focused self-care time every day. Like, you floss your teeth, right? Well, I try to, I'm like,
yeah,
well, that's, oral health. It's a little habit that you do every day to keep you optimal. What are you doing for your body, your mind, and spirit every day to keep it optimal, to keep it growing, to keep it healthy,
Mm-hmm.
And usually that's where people struggle, is just knowing what to do and when to do it, and sometimes why they're doing it. So that's the book, Whole Life Fitness Manifesto. And the funny thing is, my publisher doesn't like me saying this, but I give the program away for free on my website. Like, even though you can pick up hard copies, Barnes and Noble, Chapters in Canada, that kind of stuff, or Amazon, of course. But I'm like, I don't want dollars and cents to get in the way of people getting healthy. I really don't. Like, it's part of what I do. And so it's there, it's accessible, it's available. I just say, commit to at least 28 days and see what happens. Just see what happens. What do you got to lose? It's not that much time. True. 2% every day, and but it's been amazing. It's been quite the journey these last I guess it was published 6 years ago, wow. Probably 6 years ago, end of this year. So yeah, it's been amazing. Just some of the opportunities it's also provided me. It's been wonderful.
Did you teach your kids how to meditate and everything?
Oh yeah, well, they've learned a lot through osmosis, to be honest. Okay. Like we were parents that just took our kids everywhere. We were those parents. Like I'd go to my local Toastmasters meeting and I'm bringing my kids with me, like to the point that they've been around Toastmasters their entire life, like literally their entire life for 11 years. So all their teen years and even pre-teen years, they've been around Toastmasters. So they actually have this just natural comfort to speak in front of groups. Like
that's awesome.
They've got no problem. Like me, as someone that's naturally introverted, I had to go and work on that. Like the last 10 years, I was not a natural speaker. I mean, speaking to more than one or two people at a time, like I'd freeze. Like I couldn't do it. Yeah. And but I knew it was something I wanted to do, because I told you, I had a story. I want to make an impact. I want to make a difference. I need to get out there, and that's where Toastmasters really provided me tremendous value. I'm still a very active member in that community, and I will be, I think, till the day I die. And if there's wherever I go after that, if they got Toastmasters, I'll be there. Like it's just such a wonderful, supportive community, and it's helped me improve my leadership skills, but also my speaking skills. And so, getting our kids around that, we were the guys that would take our kids everywhere. Like I was competing in CrossFit for a number of years, and they'd come to all the competitions I was in. Like it's just so they learned a lot of these life skills just by living. It wasn't, I was talking, especially those years of travel, they learned so much. I mean, my wife and I realized homeschool, no, we're not good teachers. Now, life schooling, we're okay with that. And so we were looking for opportunities as we traveled to just learn by doing. And so, yeah, there's some different philosophies, there are different belief systems, but you know what? We're still trying to figure it out. So,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
okay.
It's just like, man, it's all good. It's all
That
good.
is okay. I mean, as long as you're figuring it out and they seem to be grounded and they understand that they have that resource to come to you, that's an important thing. And they know how to cope. I mean, because as we talked about, it's not easy today.
No,
Not easy at all.
Oh gosh, no, not at all. You know, and it almost feels like it's getting harder. Like, and I don't know why that is, but it does. Like, I think it's probably more so also because of the year we've had, right? Like, it's anything but normal. And
Right.
but you know, the lights on the there, and it's on, and we're heading towards it. I mean, you guys are getting there much quicker than we are. I'll tell you that, up here in
Yeah.
Canada with the whole COVID thing. But it's getting there. We'll be there too soon enough. You know. But you know, back to what you said, I don't know, maybe about 20 minutes ago, about the mental health piece. Won't it be interesting to see the repercussions of this year that we've had? You know, over the next 5 to 10 years. Like, especially with the kids and teens. Like, I look at my kids, like it was really challenging for them. Well, really challenging.
And they missed some of the milestones that we went through. I mean, they missed some of the things that we got to celebrate as, you know, prom and all those other little niches that you get, you know, those little marks you get when you graduate. They missed out on that. Well, even my husband passing. Next month it'll be a year. So I called his best friend and we're supposed to do some kind of memorial for him. And while part of me is very happy to be celebrating his life, the other part of me is like, I really don't want to have to go back to that moment, because I watched my husband die. The first time they got him back, but I watched him. He was gone for an hour, and then they got him back, and then he died.
Wow! Oh gosh,
that's
awful. Wow.
But the thing is, it's like now I have to go back there, and in the normal world before COVID, we would have had that last year. It would have been easy to have, you know, not say moved on, because you don't move on when you love somebody for that long. You just don't go, okay, I'm done. Yes. This is somebody that you love very dearly, so that sticks with you. But so with COVID, you have to go back almost a year later and go, okay, here we're going to go into the muck all over again.
Yes.
So, you know, all the normal of, I'm sorry for your loss, and this was this and that. I mean, I was in tears yesterday talking to his friend, because it's like, it's just one of those things. And yes, I'm being vulnerable. I'm sorry, but
no, it's beautiful. I appreciate this. I mean, my goodness, so hard.
We were together 17 years, and you know, if you would have, if this would have been normal, I would have gone through this process last year.
Right.
But instead, here we are. So COVID has it's changed us, not only how we communicate with people, how we interact. You know, we can't touch you. We can't do this. For me, I can't take the shot. My doctor has advised me, because of my allergies and autoimmune conditions, to hold off almost 6 months or a year. So I have to go to this little function with a mask on. Not that we still have mask mandates, but even my normal functioning life after that, I'm going to have to wait. I still have to wear a mask. I will not be able to do what everybody's excited about. So it's a whole lesson that we don't really think about. We think that everybody can take it. But unfortunately, because I'm not an anti-vaxxer, that's not, if I could take it, I would. But my doctor's like, no, you can't. You're going to have an allergic reaction. I'm scared, and you can't. So what do you do? Because then, people are going to look at me with my mask on thinking, oh, what's up with her?
Right.
Once again, labeling.
It's true, right? I mean, my goodness. Yeah, you're so right. I mean, even I caught the news this morning, and there was another incident in one of the communities here in Vancouver with a guy just, you know, getting violent in a retail store for just being asked, why aren't you wearing a mask? You know, like, just went off, like snapped, and police involved, and like, just amazing, right? Like, but this is not like it's a little small isolated story. I mean, this is happening all over the place, and it's a very, I know it's creating a lot of stress for people, because I mean, like, I miss the human contact. Like, I'm the kind of guy, I'm a hugger, you know, like, I'd meet friends and we hug. Yeah. It's like, and now it's like, it's just a social awkwardness, you know, it's like, or elbows, right? The elbows, like, because we don't even want to touch skin. It's like, so
Well, and I
I
talked
don't
to
know.
somebody. I talked to somebody the other night in Japan, and he's like, they're about to have another wave of it.
That's right. That's
It's like,
right.
and he can't. He has a condition where he can't take the shot either. So it's like, what do you do? You're just gonna
Yes.
be isolated some more, and so I don't know. Hopefully, we see an end to it sometime soon.
Yes.
Hopefully,
I think so. And I just sent you a little note. I didn't realize what time it is already. Oh my gosh,
that's
this
fine.
conversation just sort of flowed. And I actually have a commitment to
No
get to with my
worries. No
family.
worries.
Yeah. But
I thank you for tuning in and finally getting this all straight. I appreciate that. So I guess I have to go back to the fork in the road question, the better two question.
oh,
So which we already know the answer to. So was it better to have had that come to reality moment with your wife than not and give up drinking?
absolutely. I couldn't imagine where life would be today had I not made that decision, that commitment to myself and obviously to my family to want to be better. Like just wanted to be healthier.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wanted. I did really want that. I just don't think I was ready to fully commit to it. And once that decision was made, I never regretted it.
Good.
Never, ever, ever. And I know I never will. So
Yeah.
I think that's also why I'm so passionate about just sharing, just because I want to encourage people. Like, it's okay. Even when it's as overwhelming as life may seem, there's always a moment to choose to do things differently. It's
This
always
is true.
there. It is always there. And I know it. I've seen it happen numerous times in my own life, and I just want to remind people it's possible. It's always possible, and you're possible, right? Like it's.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah. But I thank you. I mean, it's been a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with you.
Well, thank you. Let me if they want to find you, they can find you at diamanuel.com. I will have all the links
Cool.
posted in the social media stuff, and I'm going to log off of live. So thank you guys for tuning in,
Thanks,
and
everybody.